Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wagertalk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wagertalk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Welcome to the NBA Triple Double Show powered by SportsMemo. I'm your host, Ronald Cabang, also known as UCapper on SportsMemo.com, at UCapper Sports on Twitter. I'll be joined by Tony Finn from Wagertalk today to break down 3 games from today's NBA slate. Just a few games left here in the NBA regular season. Then we head into the play-ins and the playoffs. But before we get into those games, I do want to talk about what we got going on over at SportsMemo.com and Wagertalk.com. Not only can you find myself over at SportsMemo and Tony over at Wagertalk, but we got a whole roster of handicappers that touch on all different sports, UFC, soccer, hockey, all that stuff going on currently right now in the over at sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. We also got the free live odds page on both sites, the deals page on both sites. Cappers provide free picks and analysis on a daily basis, along with their daily packages that they do have for sale as well. So a lot of free content over there. All you got to do is submit your email address and you're good to go. Also, before you head over to those sites today, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button here. It only takes a couple clicks and it helps our show grow tremendously. With that said, let's get Tony up here with me today. It's a true triple-double today. Just me and you, Tony, talking about 3 games here. How's the NBA been treating you towards the latter part of this regular season?
Well, it's been pretty good the last 2 nights. I haven't. I've played no sides, no totals. I've done all props and 7 prop. I had 4 props. 4 props. Well, what's today's Friday? 4 props on Wednesday, 3 props last night. 6-1 on those 7, so pretty good. So nice. I'd take that every day. Yeah. Absolutely. And the one I missed was a flyer actually on Ronald. It was a 35 plus on Irvin. If he scored 35 plus points, it paid. I think it was 580 was the payout on that, and he just scored 41, as you know, and I also had the big play I had was over 25 and a half. He comes home with 31. So I'll take those every day.
Yeah, it's been interesting to try and take on these props as we see a lot of key players, missing from the roster here. I mean, just kind of the rest days, the injury management as they try to stay healthy going into the playoffs. So definitely the prop side of things are the way to go, seems like, towards the end of the season, rather than focusing on where the motivation is for these teams. But maybe we see some spots here today. We got 3 games on the slate that we want to talk about. First one up, Grizzlies and the Bucks here. Grizzlies coming off of the OT loss to the Pelicans. Their current scenario is that they can lock in the number 2 spot as long as they win one of their last 2 games, or the Kings lose one of their last 2 games. The only way they can drop to the number 3 spot in the West is if they lose both of their final games and the Kings win both of theirs. This is the second game of a 3-game road trip to close out the season for them. They do have the Thunder on Sunday. The Bucks, they've locked in that number 1 spot in the East. They're on a nice 3-game winning streak as well. This is their last home game of the season, but they have a whole bunch of guys out already listed. Drew's gone. Drew's out. Middleton, Giannis, Grayson Allen, Connaughton, and Brook Lopez. They're all out. So obviously this being the last home game of the regular season doesn't mean too much for them. They just want to go into the playoffs healthy. On the opposite side, no Adams still. Zaire Williams and LaRavia are out as well. Santi Aldama is questionable but likely to sit from what I last seen. Matchup perspective, Grizzlies won and covered the first matchup by margin. It was a 142-101 win in Memphis. Only key person missing for the Bucks was Drew, so they really just dominated that game. Today, they have nobody from the starting lineup available on the Bucks side. Is this a Grizzlies or nothing type of look for you, Tony? What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I on Wednesday and it was Wednesday or earlier this week. I think it was Wednesday. I liked Milwaukee in a situation. They were laying wood. They were laying 13. I think it was against Washington, if I'm not mistaken. But when you started talking about Milwaukee, I've backed away and shied from pushing in on them because of Coach Bud and being a disciple of Popovich and the way he used to handle it. We can go back when San Antonio, it just wasn't transparent. Ronald, the league finally got on Coach Pop for that and said, listen, you can't rest these starters because actually it was the fans that were complaining because they came to see the Stars, and Pop had no problem. He just rest them, whether it be a back-to-back. It was random as could be, but they were good enough that they could rest some players, and they were still going to be in the playoffs, and they were still going to be probably the favorites to win the whole thing back at that point in time. I felt that way about Milwaukee until last week. I thought, well, here's the game they're going to win, and they did win it. They won it by 12, but I laid 13. So in this situation, it's absolutely the Grizzlies. I like the way the Grizzlies are playing, despite the fact that they've been playing without Morant and they've been playing without some of their key pieces. But this is a young club, very competitive. You know, whether it be Morant or whether it be their cast of characters, they typically want to compete. And in fact, they don't want to just compete; they want to beat your brains in and embarrass you. So, for me, it is the Grizz. In these kind of situations, I would lean to the Grizz, even though it's a nothing burger situation for them.
Yeah, no, the line has gone from 6.5 to 8 for them, for the Grizzlies here, as far as being a favorite here. Both teams really been struggling to cover the spread lately, but like you, I can only look towards the Grizzlies side. It seems like the Bucks really just want to go into the playoffs healthy here. None of the key players are playing. So one thing that I would probably look at more, it would be the first quarter or the first half for the Grizzlies here. Maybe they just kind of, like you said, dominate early with the key players playing, especially if Ja does in fact play this game. I just don't know where the motivation is, right? Because they're pretty much locked in here in that second spot. And for me, maybe they sit somebody, maybe they don't, or maybe they win this game here because they know that they have to win at least one of them to really lock that in, right? Because they can't lose both, right? So to me, that's probably the way that I go. The first quarter, first half over here. If Ja does play, they dominate that first quarter, first half, and maybe they sit in the second half, and that's where the chance of maybe a backdoor cover on the Buck side. But for the most part, I can only look towards the Grizzlies. If you look at maybe from a prop perspective, all those guys out for the Bucks, maybe look towards Joe Ingles or Javon Carter on their PRA or threes. That's probably where a lot of the usage is going to go. I know Portis, everyone's going to really gravitate towards Portis, but for me, I feel like his numbers, once they become available, are going to be really, really inflated because both Lopez and Giannis are out. So I'd probably stay away from Portis today. I've been actually riding him the last week or so, like you. I've been doing a lot of player props towards the end of the season with the double-digit lines and some of the key players sitting. And Portis is one of the guys that I targeted. But today, I have a feeling it's going to be really inflated there. The other way that I was looking at it too from the Grizzlies side is unders for Morant. Like I said, maybe he starts off the game really hot, and then with a high number, a high PRA, he doesn't play the second half and he stays under, right? If this is a blowout game, why play him in the second half? So maybe an underlook in that one as well. Next game up here, Warriors and the Kings. Warriors are looking to avoid the play-ins, like going into the play-ins with a win here. So playoff positioning is key in this game here for the Warriors. I also think that they rather play the Kings in the first round than the Suns. So that's also something interesting to look at. This is pretty much, I feel like the West right now, if you look from the 5th to the 11th spot, it's pretty much uncertain at this current moment. Even at that 10th and 11th spot, you got the Thunder and the Mavs fighting for that one. So the West is really kind of a crapshoot right now for that fifth to 8th spot. This is the first of a 2-game road trip for them to close out the season. Kings, they're not completely locked into that number 2 spot yet. They have to win both. And the Grizz have to lose both for them to move down to the 3 spot. So as long as they win one of these, they should be good to go. They're coming off of the loss to the Mavs on Wednesday. This is the last regular season home game for them in Sacramento. They face the Nuggets in Denver to close out the regular season here. Iggy Wiggins are out for the Warriors. Laundry list for the Kings, though. Lyles, Sabonis, Herder, Fox, Monk, Mitchell, Murray, all questionable for tonight's game. So really tough to really put a bet on this game at the current moment with all those question marks here. Warriors lead the season series 2-1, but the Kings have covered every game so far. But man, like I said, the question marks on the Kings side make it really hard to make a play on this one currently. But how would you tackle this game, Tony?
Well, I'd probably just let it run on by me and score a touchdown. I wouldn't tackle it at all. In fact, I'm not even going to consider tackling it. I think you outlined it. You're spot on. It's perfect. It's really difficult to put your arms around this, and at least make some educated guess on whether it's going to be an off tackle, pass play, or a draw. Right? It's a pretty tough guess at that point. And for the most part, the Kings, unless their first five's in and they're playing their typical rotations, I've found them to be pretty inconsistent this year. I mean, when Fox is playing and he's on, and obviously Sabonis is right at the key, right at the free throw line, directing traffic, and really he's the one engineering the offense. That's where he gets his triple doubles and those nice. He's a great passing center, great passing big five, can shoot, and all of them look like to be playing. Fox, I think Fox would play or could play if he wanted to. I think you'd see Sabonis as well. I just don't think that if they do play, you're going to have enough, or at least have enough intel on how many minutes they're going to contribute. And the Warriors really need to work on their defense a little bit. I think if I'm going to go somewhere with this, Ronald, I'd probably go under. I mean, they were abysmal. We talked about that in the NBA show. I said, it was the Warriors, and I apologize. So I've been looking so many games the last few days with baseball and some in-season props or in-season futures for base MLB too, that whoever it was, and I think it might have been the Thunder. I don't know, whoever Warriors were playing. I said, listen, if I'm going to lean this game, I'm going to lean to the under, right? I didn't pay much attention to the game because I had some business in other matchups and working on, the following day, etc. When I glanced over and saw that it was 130 to 100, basically, I think they reached 250. I started looking at the metrics. I started watching parts of the game, the defensive matchups, etc. And the Warriors they looked like they were interested, but they just looked a step slow. And if they're not going to play, if they can't play defense, Robert, this Warriors team, they're going to struggle in the postseason because I think we both would agree that if you had to lay their title on one variable that the Golden State had last year, other than Curry being really consistent, it would be that they were able to match up with almost anyone, versatile, and defend, and that the defense really is what took them to the finals and ultimately the championship. They just don't look like that team right now, and they haven't I'm one of the ones, we talked about this. Are they just going to flip the switch and become that team, right? I've always believed that was something they can do. Ronald, I'm not certain now. After seeing those last couple of weeks of play from them, I'm just not certain.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think the news of Wiggins coming back is a plus for them. He's not playing the remainder of the regular season, but at least they know that he's working up to playing in the playoffs here. To me, I can only look towards the Warriors side. I know they do have something to play for as far as not wanting to be in the play-ins. The interesting thing about this game here, Tony, and I want to maybe hear from you on this take here, but if the regular season ended today, they actually would be playing each other in the playoffs. So one thing that you talked about, the Warriors kind of flipping that switch, them being the more experienced team, is this a situation where you feel like they would just come in and kill these guys and make a statement, going into the playoffs and just kind of, I don't know, like a mental game sort of, right? Because the line here is saying it's a minus, the Warriors opened as a 5.5 point favorites. Now they're 9.5 point favorites. It seems like the Kings may sit these guys based on the number. The total's gone down, so the market agrees with you on the under. But just from a psychological standpoint, right, going into the playoffs here, the Warriors, like I said, the more experienced team going into it, Can they just make that statement and just say, let's kill these guys today and show them that they don't have a chance when we play them in the playoffs?
Well, I think a lot of that depends on, and I don't think this is a great matchup in the postseason for the Warriors personally. I mean, I think that while I like Green, while I'm not so sure that in postseason play and a physical backdrop with where they're not going to call too many fouls. How much do you like Sabonis to control the paint with the Kings in that kind of a scenario, right? Let's put it this way. I'm concerned that Golden State in this matchup, I don't think that they will be able to control the tempo. I don't think they'll be able to slow the Kings down. Now, maybe they don't want to. If they don't want to, then they're not concerned with playing defense, because I think that's what you have to do with the Kings. You don't want Fox. You want to put these guys in front of your half court sets on defense and make them work for the points, not transition possessions all the time, taking it to the rim. And that's what the Kings like to do.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I don't know, like you, I don't know where I would go with this game as far as the side or the total, but I would only look towards the Warriors since they have something to fight for. But obviously, I mean, that doesn't always lead to them covering the spread, especially with this number being so high. So I'd probably stay away from that. But from a prop perspective, if for some reason this game gets out of hand and the Warriors do actually dominate this game, I think Jordan Poole is one of the guys that would probably continue to play heavy minutes. They will probably sit guys like Clay and Curry and Draymond in the second half, but Jordan Poole continue to play with the guys in the bench here. So I'd probably look towards him to get some numbers tonight against the Kings here. With, obviously I don't expect a lot of defense from them, sort of a fast-paced game, but that would probably be the way that I go if I bet anything in that one. Last game up, Tony, we got the Suns and the Lakers. Suns are locked into that fourth spot right now. They don't really know who they're going to be facing. Talked about that 5 to 10 spot here that's really uncertain. They're currently on a 7-game winning streak, so great form for them right now. A lot of it because of a great defense from them. Also, obviously, Kevin Durant being mixed in there in majority of those games. This is the second leg of back-to-back home to road games for them, though. They head back home to face the Clippers on Sunday to close out the regular season. Lakers, they have a lot to fight for here. They still have an opportunity to come out the regular season not having to play in the play-in tournament, so they probably want to win this one. This is the first of a 2-game homestand to close out the regular season. They do face the Jazz on Sunday, so this is the harder matchup of the two for them to get the win. Injury perspective, LeBron and AD are currently questionable. D'Lo is probable. On the Sun side, the only person I see currently on the injury report is TJ Warren as questionable. This is going to be interesting to me because second game of back-to-back, right? The Suns are locked into that fourth spot. Do we see some guys sit here tonight? I don't know, but obviously the injury report says nothing so far for them. Regular season matchup, Suns lead the regular season matchup, winning and covering 2 of the 3 matchups so far. Lakers did win the one after the All-Star break. Actually, it was just a couple of weeks ago. Where do you go with this one? Obviously, the Lakers line has moved from -6 to double-digit favorites right now at some books, and the total has come down just a point, 227.5 to 226.5. What are you looking at for this game, Tony?
Well, listen, regardless of who sits, who plays. I mean, we saw it last night, didn't we? Where you saw the lines move, in a dramatic fashion away from Cleveland, away from these teams that are locked into their seed and were going to essentially play their second rotation, right? Play the backups. You saw it with, listen, on several shows yesterday, I said I couldn't, for instance, Miami, who I like tonight. I just liked Philly. Even Philly was a favorite. I didn't expect Embiid to be playing 40 minutes, but with the short minutes he did play, he was effective. But Miami really played pretty well, and Philly didn't play any defense, right? In this game, in this situation, in all these situations where the line has moved dramatically, it's just really hard for me not to like the Suns. What they're doing right now, and what Coach Williams said he's going to be doing, he's not going to sit his guys because he feels like with Durant being hurt for an extended period of time since he moved over from the Nets or from Brooklyn, and he doesn't really feel very comfortable with this first rotation, this first five. These guys don't really know where they're going to be at, or at least Durant doesn't know where they're going to be at. Durant played 41 minutes last night. He's going to play tonight, and I'm not afraid of Durant being fatigued. My only concern with Durant, if I'm a Phoenix backer and fan and season ticket holder, and I got futures on him, is Durant getting hurt. That's really the concern. Do you want to play him in a situation where it doesn't mean much, doesn't count, or it's not real for that much? I think for the Suns, it is real. Booker didn't shoot very well last night. The Suns struggled to win that game, and they did it despite playing poorly. But again, there was no Jokic, no Murray. There was a lot of reasons why the Suns should have won, and probably won by double digits. They didn't tonight. Listen, Lakers aren't good enough defensively. They're just. I mean, I know they've been better since they've made a change in the starting five, and they're going to be better with Davis in the paint. But 10 points in the Suns is a place that I not only like, I actually went there. I played a couple of small pizza money parlays, and we'll talk about one of those on the show here. That includes Phoenix plus the points.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I'm with you there. I mean, the Lakers, obviously, they should come out with some desperation and urgency here, with them actually having something to play for. But I just don't understand this line at all, unless the Suns do sit some guys tonight. But like you, I feel like it's more important for them to keep this momentum and get more minutes with this starting five. You just mentioned, they don't feel comfortable yet with where people are at, especially with KD only having minimal games together. With this roster, they're going to be dangerous in the playoffs. And I think for that to really happen, they got to continue that momentum going into it. And I definitely can see them playing the last two games here as a squad, even if it is minimum, managed minutes, not a full 36 or whatever it might be for the starters. I feel like they're going to play the last two games here and keep that momentum going. And as it stands now, and who I see currently available for the Suns, there's no way I can see the Lakers covering this big number. So I would look towards the Suns as well. From a total perspective, I don't know where to go with this one. The Suns number 1 in defensive rating last 5 games, while the Lakers are 4th in offensive rating. So that kind of just is a wash for me from the total perspective, but definitely see the Suns side on this one with the current number. All right. Well, Tony, quick show today. We had 3 games on the slate, just me and you, and we're off to the best bet section now. Let's start here with you. What is your best bet for today's show? And talk to the people about what you got going on over at Wagertalk.com.
Well, first off, what I have going on at Wagertalk early this morning is I have several NBA prop positions that I like. Unfortunately, with us being where we're at in the schedule, and give you an example, it's Miami's prop. There's a couple guys I want to basically push in on a prop as long as the number's correct. But before the show, they still had not had those Miami props up. They had Washington's work up, but they did not have the Miami players. And the same went for a couple other teams. So what I have at Wagertalk, nothing right now. But I will after the show, between now and the NBA show, which goes off of, I think, 4:15 Eastern, I will have not only my NBA, but I'll have my MLB, which is going very well too. So let's talk about best bets. I like the Miami Heat tonight. Listen, I did not like them against Philly. They've been abysmal defensively. They're not the same team they were 2 years ago. They're not the same team. They don't have the same capabilities to man up and be stingy defensively this year. Butler's going to get his points, going to get his rebounds, he's going to go to the line 10, 20 times a game. And he's basically going to lead his men, but he's not the same defensive guy. He's not that physical in rebounds he used to be. And I like the way he plays, but this team as a whole has been really, really bad defensively. Part of this is Lowry being in and out and et cetera, et cetera. But I like Miami for a couple of reasons. If you saw what they did to Philly, they shot the ball well. And tonight against Washington, they lost the first game, this year to Washington. They played Washington 3 times in 4 games. If you remember, Ronald, earlier in the season, I think it was in November in that area. And They won the last two. They lost the first one. They lost by 1 point. However, there was no Bam. There was no Butler. And there was, I don't think that, I'm not quite certain, but there was another player that was absent, another first five. And Washington won by 1 point. The other two, Miami won. They covered game two. They pushed in game three. If you were -3 is what they were. And this is the fourth game, the final game. And for the most part, Bam just dominates against Washington. Porzingis is not a physical type of a player. He doesn't have nimble. I don't like him around the rim like I do Bam. And Bam pretty much, listen, Porzingis is going to get his too, like the over in this game. But what I do is I like Miami -6.5. And I do like the over. The over right now is sitting right at 218, Ronald. And so first and foremost, Miami -6.5, I'm very comfortable with. If you saw what they did last night, most of their starters, all of them only played 27 to 31 minutes. This includes Bam. Bam played only 28th, I think, and he came up short of a double-double because he didn't get his 10 rebounds. So Miami -6.5. And quickly, some pizza money on a three-leg parlay that I like, and Miami being one of those, -6.5. I like the over 218 in this. Neither one of these teams play much defense anymore. 218, this is still basically the market, or the odds makers are believing that the market's still a small piece of the pie with Miami 218. Tell me how many teams are under 220 nowadays, especially later in the season right now. Most of the games, Ronald, I like over, but the three-leg parlay I like is Miami -6.5 over the 218, and I like the Suns +10. And you're going to get, depending on the juice you lay, you're going to be anywhere between a +590 and a +600 on that three-leg. And so a little pizza money, or McDonald's money, whatever you want to call it, a 10 or a 20, even if it's just a $10 or a $20 bill, right? Nice return. Yeah. I'll take it. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah, another thing for that that look towards the Heat here, the Wizards are they pretty much just quit on the season already. Their whole starting five is basically out once again and out for the remainder of the season, basically. So definitely a nice look there on the Heat side.
They've been playing. They're playing hard. The backups are playing hard. You're right, Ronald. But the coaches have said, listen, none of the starters are going to play. Give us your worst. And that's what they're doing. Yeah.
Not a lot of offense coming from that Wizards side there. They are playing a fast pace though, so good thing for the Heat if they continue to play with their full squad. For me, we hit the best bet on Wednesday. We had a player prop on Wednesday. We had Grimes over his points, and he went well over his points there. I like a side today, and more specifically a first quarter side. I like the Nets. -4 in the first quarter against the Magic today. The Nets have to win at least one game, or the Heat have to lose one game to lock in that sixth spot. So they pretty much control their own destiny here, and they have the Sixers on deck on Sunday, and this would be the easier matchup to get the win, in my opinion. So I think they focus in and key in on this game specifically. I think one thing that I looked at historically was, how do heavy favorites do in the final part of the season? I looked at double-digit favorites specifically in the last 3 games of the regular season. Since 2017, those teams are 23-16-1 against the spread, covering at a 59% clip. But majority of the damage is being done in that first quarter, where the average first quarter margin is around 6 points. And we see a number at -4 here for the Nets. So, not really sure what to make of this Magic team. They set out a lot of guys yesterday. I actually liked the Magic yesterday when I thought all the starters were going to play, and then all of a sudden they all just sat. So don't know where their mindset is as far as this game goes and who's going to be playing. But for the most part, I know where the Nets mindset is, and that's for them to come out with a sense of urgency and desperation to start this game and dominate that first quarter. If you look at the last 5 games in general, they have a first quarter net rating of +15, while the Magic are -1.3. So for me, that first quarter is where the magic will happen for the Nets. First quarter -4 is my best bet for today's show. On the premium side, I actually have 5 baseball MLB bets. Been seeing the board well over there, especially from a money line and run line perspective, hitting 70% in the MLB since last July. So hopefully continue to do well there. Obviously, the NBA, it's getting a little bit tighter here towards the end of the season with, not knowing where the mindset is for everybody. So did a lot of player props on Thursday and Wednesday and Thursday, or this week in general. But today, kind of playing light here. This Nets -4 is going to be a premium play. I'm probably going to take a stronger look at that Suns game as well that you talked about, Tony. And then we have the UFC this weekend as well. So a lot of stuff going on. And that leads to me saying, go back to sportsmemo.com and wagertalk.com. There's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of the handicappers over there touch on all these different sports, soccer, the Premier League, and all that stuff this weekend as well. So the sportsmemo.com, wagertalk.com, free picks, a lot of amazing deals and packages from all the handicappers, the live odds pages for all the sports, the leaderboards. It tells you which cappers are hot on each sport as well. So make sure you head over there after the show today. With that said, our next show will be on Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the same channel. Till then, guys, good luck with all your action. Good luck. Peace.
Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from Wagertalk, SportsMemo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 Wagertalk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.